Hey guys, Greg Alexander, and today I wanted to talk about the new Bassmaster Open EQ qualification for the Opens, EQ being the elite qualifications, and how they're doing it. So let's explain. In the past, what Bass used to do was they gave up to 5 spots per division to qualify for the Elite Series for the next year. So if you finish in the top 5 in points in your division, then you qualified for the elites if you were to take that qualification. And then the last 3 years or so, it's been the top 3 in each division and the top 3 in the overall points cumulative for all the divisions. So 12 spots have been going to the elites. They cut 12 out of the elites. The bottom 12 were cut this year, supposedly, and 12 come in. Before that, the bottom 12 weren't cut because they're still trying to fill the field out. Remember, they started with about 80 people after, MLF came in and a lot of the Elite Series pros left and went to the MLF Series. Bass had a hard time even filling out their field of Elite Series pros, and they went way down the line into each of the Open Series to find enough people to get to 80 fishermen to fish for the elites. So no insult on some of you guys who qualify for the elites that way, but a lot of those guys probably wouldn't have qualified under today's standards, but they did back then. So anyhow, now Bass is saying that you can only qualify for the elites in the overall points total for all the combined divisions. In other words, you need to sign up for all 3 divisions and fish all 9 tournaments to qualify for the Elite Series. And what the reasoning for that was that if you can't either afford to fish all 9 or you're not good enough to fish all 9 all over the country, then you're not good enough to be an Elite Series pro, which as far as affordability goes, that's just not true. I did a video right here, posted right here, talking about, is it more affordable to fish the Elites or is it more affordable to fish the Opens? And the truth of the fact is, it's way more affordable probably to fish the Elite Series 9 on 9 than it is the Opens based on the payouts. But you can watch that video some other time. And then, they say, well, you're not ready to fish the elites if you can't go around the country, fish 3 different divisions and qualify for the elites. Well, to qualify for the elites in the past, now you had to be 3 out of 225 guys per tournament. And, in those regions, beating some of the best local talent that there is. So 3 out of 225 is what? 1 in 75 chance. Well, last year they gave 3 spots to the people who fished all 9 tournaments, which was about 83 guys. So that was a 3 in 83, or like 1 in 27 or 1 in 28 chance of making the elites. So 1 in 28 versus 1 in 75. So what's easier to do? 3 times easier to qualify fishing all 9 based on the numbers than it is fishing 1 division. So it's definitely more difficult, more talent, more people to fish against in more situations, more pressure situations anyhow, to qualify for the elites through a division. So take somebody like me to say, well, you're not qualified because you only fished 3 tournaments versus somebody who fished 9 tournaments. Well, how many years did you fish 3 tournaments, first of all? And then what other things have you done? Well, let's just take an example of me. I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. But, I have made 28 Federation state teams. I have made 13 Federation national championships between TBF and Bass, and a total of about 18 national championships of various kinds throughout the years. I fished all over the country, from Kansas to Texas to Canada, Florida to Maine, and everywhere in between. So Would I not be qualified if I had qualified through the elites? Maybe not as qualified as some, but way more qualified than a lot of others, especially some of these younger guys who, you know, they fished the 9-tournament circuit, but I fished 300 more tournaments than them. So that's just not even good rationale. So anyhow, so let's break this down. Let's break this down. If you are going to fish, you know, if you're trying to fish a divisional this year, a division this year, you know, in your division, 3 tournaments, because Bass says now you can make the Classic if you fish all 3 tournaments in your division. Well, here's the problem. They're probably not getting in. Well, why aren't you getting in? Well, there's 225 spots available, right? The EQ roster was just released this week, and 175 guys are fishing all 3 divisions. So out of 225 spots, 175 are already locked up. At least 50 spots. Okay, well, let's keep going. Who has priority entry now? Elite Series pros have priority entry. So last year, 28 Elite Series pros fished some of these tournaments. So you can figure that this year, if it's about the same, you're going to have 9 Elite Series pros fishing in each division. So there's basically 10 more spots gone. So you have 175 to 184 spots taken. Then you got your priority entry falls next to actually Elite Series pros and Federation Nation National Championship qualifiers have priority. You can't even sign up until after the Elites and the Federation Nation National Championship qualifiers have called in and said, this is what I want to fish. So then of the 55 or so Federation Nation National Championship qualifiers, probably 30 of them are going to fish at least 1 division. Some of them will fish all 3 divisions, but very few. So there's 10 more per division. So now we're at 194 spots taken out of 225. Then you have who has priority entry next. The top 25 in the points in each division every year have priority entry. So of that top 25, you know, probably 10 in each division are probably going to fish all 9 this year. So that's 15 more people who have priority entry, who may or may not, but probably will fish again this year and use that priority entry. So now we're up to like 210 spots taken before you ever have a chance to even sign up. So that means you got about 15 open spots in each division of the Opens this year. 15 spots. That's it. That's it. So there's only 15 of you who, man, are going to hit the speed dial at the perfect time and get through first of all the people that are calling in. And everybody else is going on the waiting list. So it's not really realistic to say, well, you know, if you're not fishing all 3 divisions, you know, you can still fish 1 division and make the Classic. Well, 15 of you can, you know, of those who aren't fishing all of them or weren't already pre-qualified. So what this has become, see, is this is no longer an open tournament. This is not an open tournament. This is an invite tournament, right? You're invited if you fish all 9 first, and then you're invited if you're already an elite and you're already qualified, and you don't have to qualify, you know, again through the Opens, or, you know, you're taking somebody's spot as an elite pro for somebody who would like to try to qualify for elite, but he can't get in because an elite's taking their spot. All these other people who are invited to Federation Nation National Championships and the top 25 from last year, like I said, which leaves 15 spots. So it's basically an invite tournament. They call it an invitational, but you have to be on the invite list first before you can get in. So here's the major problem with all of this. You know, it's a free world. It's a free market. And, you know, it's first come, first serve, and I understand all that. But here's what happens. a lot of these people will sign up for all 9. And in the past, they just sign up for 3 in their division, maybe, you know, with the hopes of qualifying for the Elite Series. And then what'll happen is after the first tournament, you know, in each individual division in the past, if they bombed, a lot of these people would just drop. They'd drop out, go home, wouldn't fish anymore. And in the 9, you know, a lot of them would fish 3 or 4 tournaments of the 9. And then, you know, they see that, you know, I got no chance of making the elites, so I'm not going to spend another $20,000 to fish the other 5 tournaments or 4 tournaments this year. And they drop and they go home. Well, what have they done? Well, they've just taken spots away from people who legitimately wanted to fish all 3 tournaments in their division with a chance at making the Classic, maybe not even worried about the elites, but with a chance of making the Classic. And I've talked to people who said, I would still like to fish one division for a chance to fish the Classic because that's my dream. They don't want to fish the elites necessarily. They probably would, but they don't necessarily want to. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't necessarily want to fish the elites. If I ever made it, I probably would, but I would like to make the Classic. But that's been taken from them by people who had no intention of fishing all the tournaments if they didn't do well, right? And I don't think that that's right, you know. And there's got to be a fix for that because, you know, let's go back. The first year I fished the 4 tournaments in the East, they called it. The last tournament was on Lay Lake, and that last tournament there was 160 boats in that tournament out of 225 available. Well, at the beginning of the year, the tournament was full, but it wasn't full at the end of the year because we had 100 people drop. How do I say 100 when there's 160? Because there was about 40 or 50 people on the waiting list local to Lay Lake area that got into the tournament. You can see that on the list of tournament competitors. The Alabama tournament competitor list was, you know, that long. And they were all local, a lot of locals. So about 100 people had dropped from that 4 tournament series because they felt like they were out of the game. And then last year on Chesapeake Bay, the last tournament in the North, which I fished, it was 183 boats out of 225. And of that, you know, that's 183 boats after filling out the waiting list of a lot of local people in the Baltimore, Washington, Philadelphia area. A lot of people wanted to fish that tournament. So, you know, there's probably another 100 people, again, that signed up to fish all 3 in the division who dropped before that tournament. And then in the second tournament, you know, it's not as bad because people are still holding on, you know, man, I did bad in the first one, but if I can get a top 10 in the next one, then maybe, you know, so not as bad, but people will drop in between. So, but what you've accomplished is you've just taken a spot from somebody who legitimately wanted to fish all 3 no matter what, you know, win, lose, or draw, with a chance of winning one in their division and going to the Classic, or at least thinking, you know, maybe I won't make it to the Classic or qualify for the elites this year, but if I fish all 3 of them, I'll get more experience and it'll make me better for the future, and then maybe I can qualify down the road sometimes. But you got all these people that took their spot and just quit. So I got a fix for that. You know, if Bass were to watch this video, or somebody on the tournament committee would watch this video, you should take this to heart, because I got a solution. There's a solution to fix that problem. There's a solution so that the fields will be full at the end of the year also, as they are at the beginning of the year. And that solution is, if you don't have a legitimate personal or medical reason for not finishing the year for the tournaments that you signed up for, then you're not qualified to fish the following year. Not qualified. You got to take. You can't even try to qualify the following year. We won't take your entry because you didn't follow through with your commitment. Now, if you had a legitimate reason, legitimate, approved by Bass or whoever, in this case Bass, then, you know, it's okay. And stuff happens. We all understand stuff happens. But you just can't go out there because, man, you know what? I'll put my $800 in for the 3 tournaments and I'll fish the first one. If I lose $1,600, oh, it's no big deal. At least I gave myself a chance to try to make it. But you took somebody else's chance away. You had no intention of fishing the next 2 if you didn't do well on the first one. And you've probably been doing it for years, a lot of you. You've probably been doing it for years, putting your deposits in and not fishing the tournaments because you're probably not even good enough really to do it, but you're just taking somebody's spot away. You understand? That's not fair, people. You understand? Be real with yourself. That's not fair. I wouldn't do that to somebody. If I committed to fish all 3, I'm fishing all 3 unless my legs broke or something happens serious in my life. I'm fishing all 3 because that's the way I'm wired. That's the way I think people should be wired. So if you commit, then fish. If you commit and don't fish, you don't fish next year. Not on this tournament scene. So that's the solution. Some of y'all like it, some of y'all don't. Some of these videos I put out will be hard hitting like this. Some will just be tournament tips. Some will just be tournament results. I do a lot of mindset fishing because I think that's more important than what lures to throw. And again, if you like my videos and you want to follow me on a regular basis, then please hit the subscribe button, the little like button, and please share it with your friends. Coming up on the holidays here, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and have a blessed day.